I'm going to read my spiel here. Welcome to the October 5th, 2020 electronic meeting, special electronic meeting of the Environmental Commission. This meeting is in accordance with executive orders from the governor to effect social distancing and mitigate the spread of the COVID-19 virus. We intend to conduct this meeting similarly to an in-person meeting. However, please be patient if there are technical issues. Public comment will be via telephone only. To speak during any of the public comment opportunities, please call 1-888-788-0099 and enter meeting ID. Oh, what's our meeting ID? Galen, do you have our meeting ID? This information.
There's a passcode, but I don't know if that's the meeting ID. That's different. That's the passcode for the Zoom meeting.
Yeah, it starts with 924 or something like that, 925.
Here's one webinar ID 979.
Okay, what's that? What else?
979-3113-0988.
It's got all the digits. Can you verify that, Galen?
That's what was in the invitation he sent.
Yeah, okay, good. So, sorry, to speak to any of the public comment opportunities, please call 1-888-788-0099 and enter meeting ID 979-3113-0988. This information is also available on the published agenda in the public notices section of the city website and on the broadcast of this meeting on CTN channel 16, AT&T channel 99, and online at www.a2gov.org/watchctn. Please be patient. There is a delay of up to 30 seconds before connection is established. Okay, so let's, Galen, would you begin the roll call? Hello, Galen. Hello, Galen. You're muted.
Okay.
It's muted.
Okay, I got you. Commissioner Graham. Commissioner Graham. Commissioner Skinner. Commissioner Skinner. Commissioner Needham.
Here.
Councilmember Smith. Councilmember Smith. Commissioner Slavic.
Here.
Commissioner Apple. Commissioner Apple. Commissioner Gibb Randall.
Here.
Councilmember Bannister.
Here.
Commissioner Colliworth.
Here.
Chairman Brown.
Present.
Commissioner Overpeck.
Here.
Commissioner Mursky.
Here.
Vice Chair Mitchell.
Here.
Commissioner Bonidia. That's roll call.
All right, thank you. Do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so the first motion is approval of agenda. I think the agenda is the same as the last meeting. One thing I would like to propose is I would have a motion that I'd like to transfer the chair's responsibilities to Rita Mitchell during the vote, so I can share my screen and enter whatever amendments, if friendly amendments are offered into the document, and so everybody can see the document before we do the final vote. Okay, do I have a second? John Callowart seconds. All who agree say raise your hand. All who objects, raise your hand. It passes unanimously. It passes unanimously. So we'll move on to the next item on the agenda is public commentary. Let's see, public comment. This is an opportunity for persons to speak for up to 3 minutes. please call 1-888-788-0099 and enter meeting ID 9179-3113-0988. This information is also displayed on the meeting agenda and video feed. City staff will select callers that have raised their hand one by one using the last 3 digits of your phone number. In order to electronically raise your hand to indicate your desire to speak, please press *9 on your phone. You will hear an automated announcement that the host is allowing you to speak. When speaking, please move to a quiet area and mute any television or background sounds so that we may hear you clearly. Please state your name and address at the beginning of your comments. And be patient, there is a delay of up to 30 seconds before a connection is established. So Galen, let's wait 30 seconds, see if anybody's on the line.
Okay.
Then I'll begin sharing my screen. And
There's no one for public comment.
okay, this ends the first public commentary period. There will be a second opportunity after the old business is taken care of on the agenda. So old business. Let's see, I'm going to transfer my my chair responsibilities to Rita right now, and I'm going to share my screen with everybody. So you should be able to see the draft resolution that the council that the commission has drafted on the fourth consent judgment, to comment on the fourth consent judgment negotiated for groundwater remediation of the Gelman 1,4-dioxane plume. So Rita, you have the
Okay.
floor.
All right, thank you. So thanks everyone. Thanks everyone who's contributed to this. I want to just do a process thing that I think is important, that to acknowledge that there is some information posted on Legistar. And so just to open this up, I would like to ask for a motion to consider the Legistar document, and then we can ideally move to the second. So is there a motion to consider the Legistar posted document?
I would like to move to consider that.
Do we
Second,
have a second? Okay, thanks, John. And so we'll open the discussion of the Legistar document, and I'd like to suggest that rather than the Legistar document as posted, that we look at this document together that has been revised with input from many of us. So what I would suggest that we do is go through each of the whereas clauses very quickly, and I will say the first 3 or so words of each one just to locate us all in the same place on the document. If anyone has a comment that they would like to make that would be an edit of what's posted, please let us know, because our goal is to finish this at 6:45 at the latest. Okay, so that's my thought on this. So thank you very much. Oh, are you ready, Steve? So let's start with the first whereas, the 1,4-dioxane groundwater plume. I'll let you continue reading it.
Oh, continues advancing eastward down Allen Creek
Well,
Drain.
so Steve, I was just going to let other people read silently so that we just
I like that.
get our eyes
That's
on, keep
better.
our eyes on the screen.
That's better.
Okay. And I'll ask you to call out. I'm going to be scanning for people's wish to comment. Any comments on the first? Okay, let's move to the second. Whereas the court has released. I'll let you continue. Any comments from anyone? I can't see you. Third, whereas the ineffectual in situ dilution. Okay, hearing no comments, let's move forward to whereas treated water would be discharged into First Sister Lake. Does anyone have any comments? Edits? Okay. Next one. Whereas there are no hydrology studies. Shannon. Commissioner Gibrandal.
Yeah, actually, just could you just go up to the previous one? Something just
Sure.
caught my eye
Steve,
too.
can you help?
So I have two, one for this one for the one that we're just focusing on that we just passed, and the next one. So I'll do them both at the same time. I would say would likely greatly impact the wetland because we don't have a study to be able to say one way or the other. And I think that that's just more. I think that's just more accurate. Like we don't really know what that's going to be, and so I think it will definitely greatly impact it. We just don't know what it's going to be. So I would say impact. That would be my feedback on that. And then the next one is that there would be no hydrological studies instead of hydrology studies. So I'm not quite sure how we.
So Steve, were you going to edit these real time while we were looking?
Well, let's know what we need to do is, are you offering these as friendly amendments?
Friendly amendments, correct. And I also, if people want to discuss the, the harm versus impact, I'm happy to have that discussion too.
Oh, I think we all are. So do I have a second to accept this friendly amendment to the first clause? That would be.
Second.
That's John Callowart said second.
Yes.
Okay. Discussion. So raise your hand if you have a comment.
So
Is that a comment, John?
The discussion is of harm versus impact. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. If there's no discussion, let's have a vote on it. All who agree.
So Steve, are you doing this or me? I'm,
No, you are, Rita. I know.
I'm
This
trying to
is like-
understand. Okay.
I'm just like waiting here for the first one.
All right. Okay. All right. So did we have discussion on this? I think the answer was no. Would we like to vote on this? Is there a motion to accept impact in replacement of harm? Motion?
Aye.
Steve's moving. A second?
Second.
Actually,
Sorry.
may I suggest something in the midst of this, that we are considering this as a whole? Do we have to vote on each single one? It seems to me that we could make these edits as we go along. And Steve, if you would indicate them by bold or some other method so we can see the changes, we could accept everything at the end rather than going through a vote of each single item. Is that acceptable?
Yeah.
Yep. Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. And so I'm sorry, Shannon, if you would consider saying your.
Yeah, I'm happy to. Where there are no hydrological studies instead of hydrology studies.
All right. Any comments on this? We'll call them comments right now and we'll throw them in at the vote in at the end. Concerns, okay. So if that's acceptable, then we'll move on to the next whereas. Whereas under Eagle management and then continue reading. Is there any discussion of this one or comment, edit? Everybody's okay with that? All right. The next whereas, examples of more aggressive treatment. Any concerns, any additions, deletions? Discussion? Okay, let's move on. We're getting the rhythm here. Whereas there are no technical performance criteria. All right, anybody with an edit, add, addition, deletion, or comment? Shan.
I guess I would just question, especially as regulatory limits become more stringent, we don't know that's going to happen. And so I would say as regulatory limits could become more stringent, I don't know. Because that's,
Mhm.
does that make
That
sense?
sounds good to me. Any other comments on that?
Sounds good to me.
All right. Sorry, everyone, I'm not seeing every face, but so wait, maybe I can fix that.
Was that the word may?
All right, there we go. Was could.
Okay.
In the upper right corner, you're able to change your view.
Yes, thanks. I found it. Thanks. Perfect. All right, so thank you. And if you'll bold that, then we'll know that that was a change that we made. Okay, next, whereas the lack of transparency. Any additions, deletions, or comments? Okay, next one. Oh, wait, are we okay? Okay, let's go to whereas the city of Ann Arbor would be required to restrict legal remedies. Any additions, deletions,
Do we need to
comments?
say something like this? The city of Ann Arbor, under the consent judgment, would be required to restrict legal remedies. Is that?
I kind of like that. That's my comment. Anyone else?
Fourth consent judgment.
I'm sorry, say it again, please.
Steve added it.
Yeah.
Yep, there we are.
But aren't all of these under the fourth consent judgment or no?
Yeah, they all are.
Yeah, that's true, I guess.
So maybe
Is that clear somewhere up early on?
yeah, let's make sure that's clear up
Yeah.
early. I agree. Yeah.
That's the title. Here's
Whereas
title.
it's the second one, I think.
Well,
But
the
let's see if
title-
do we consider the second one, whereas adequate?
It's not.
It's in the title.
It's in the title.
Okay,
Okay, so we guess we don't need it there. Then you can strike it.
good to be thorough. Okay, so then, right, the 11th one, this is our last whereas. There has been no order made. Additions, deletions, comment.
Would it be worth adding current cleanup standards or current remediation standards or something like that?
I'm not sure what the exact language is.
Yeah, I think.
How about environmental?
It's broad enough to capture.
Yeah. Excuse me, Dr. Overpeck?
Environmental standards?
That sounds good. So we are making this as a recommendation to council. So, we're advising. I think it's good, my opinion. All right, so we move to the resolves.
Steve, you need to bold that.
Oh yeah, thank you. Okay, shall we move to the resolves? That the Ann Arbor Environmental Commission strongly recommends that the Ann Arbor City Council reject the fourth amended and restated consent judgment. And it continues. Steve.
It's not clear to me what the difference is between the fourth amended and restated consent judgment and the proposed settlement agreement.
They are actually two different documents. What I don't know is whether the settlement is considered part of the judgment. Does anybody know that?
I think the judgment relates to the whole situation, and the proposed settlement agreements are all with the individual governmental entities. Like there's one between the city, one between the township, Messiah, and one
right.
township.
And so the reason, so I offered this particular one, and the reason I put it in is because I read the settlement agreement, and it's really strong about termination of action by the Gelman Company, and really getting them out. And I just felt that it would be worthwhile to make a clear statement about it.
No, it's good. I think, I just wanted to make sure it was complete, because I think those are the
Yeah.
only two documents we're responsible for and that we've been reviewing.
Mhm. So my only question, I guess, in terms of wording, since I submitted this, maybe that as submitted should be moved to the very end. So you reject the consent judgment and the proposed settlement with the city as submitted. What do you think about that? And then you would delete the interior one.
No, I would leave both. We can leave both.
Okay. All right. Okay.
A very minor point.
Yes.
We spell out fourth, and in the title, fourth is 4th. And I don't know if one is correct or proper and the other not, but we should probably just be consistent.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'll make those changes.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay, the next resolve, that remediation activities under the third amendment. Keep going. Any additions, deletions, comments? All right, let's go to the next one. Resolve that all data sets analyzing the plume be generated.
Do we
Any
want to
additions?
define a regular basis? Regular basis can be once every 10 years. It could be once every 10 months. It could be once every 10 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. Anybody got any good suggestions? I do not know reasonable timeframes for this, but I like the idea of specifying.
I would propose quarterly.
Okay, let's do it. We'll recommend it. Somebody will assess it, I hope.
That sounds reasonable to me.
All right, next, resolved. Oh, sorry, any further comments? All right. Next, resolve that the staff appoint a peer review panel, and then continue. Steve gives it a thumbs up. Anybody, any comments, changes? Okay, y'all are great. Okay.
Before we move on, I'm not
Yeah.
clear what's meant by the word judgments in that sentence.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
I can.
Evaluations, is that a better word? Go ahead, Steve.
This pertains to the fact that data is data. It has no information to it until a judgment is made about the data in terms of evaluating it.
Yeah, well, I like John's idea of replacing that with evaluations, especially since we're talking about a consent judgment here. It might be a little more clear if that's acceptable.
I like that. So bold and delete.
Steve, you're okay with that?
Oh yeah, I've typed it in here and I'm bolding it.
And then put a delete on the, it's already gone. Okay, great, thanks. Okay, the next one, resolve city council demand performance criteria. I have a question. Do you think we need to spell out GSI?
It was
Anybody?
earlier.
Was it?
spelled
Okay.
out earlier.
All right, thank you.
What is everybody
Okay.
else?
I'm okay with leaving it.
Tiny thing.
Go for it.
There's no period at the end of this statement, and there's no period at the end of the next. I think they're all should end with a period.
Okay,
Yeah, that's all done.
great. Next one, resolve that no discharges of treated groundwater be dumped into First Sister Lake. Okay, anybody comment? Great, let's move on.
I have a quick comment. One door that could open is that it could be dumped someplace else that's potentially even more sensitive.
Yes.
So I don't know. I agree with what's here. The question is, do we want to expound on this and say into First Sister Lake or any other sensitive natural feature or whatever? I don't know. Somebody else who's smarter than I am can propose another.
Or any other sensitive watershed,
Okay.
maybe.
Shannon.
Yeah, I'm wondering if after talking to some folks about this, I kind of think that it being discharged towards the Huron River below where we get our drinking water instead of in any of our creeks or wetlands. So there are ways, I was told, I have not checked this, along M14 that along a swale that would go directly into the river, and that's below our drinking water. And as Chris Graham said last week, there are no other communities that are east of us that get their drinking water from the Huron River. They all get them. We're the last one before it hits Lake Erie. And so everybody else gets it from Detroit, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So
right. Including Ypsilanti.
Yes, exactly. And so, so I'm not quite sure how to wordsmith it, but that it can't be dumped or discharged would probably be the better word. Into let's see, into any creek or wetland and must flow directly towards the Huron River below or downstream of Barton Pond or something along those lines.
We had a version that talked about surface waters. Does anybody remember that? I don't know if I can get to it. Do you have that accessible, Steve? Yeah, Steve.
Yeah, I recall that there was a suggestion to put that in there, but I think the concern is partly that there are no other communities that are currently drawing water, from the Huron River. So the issue then is, where is the polluter going to discharge the treated water?
But that's what I'm saying, is that if we do it, it has to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Okay.
but if it can be in the Huron River, then, and to the standards that we're asking for, then that's not radically changing hydrology of any of our creeks or wetlands, because the Huron River, putting 200 gallons per minute in that is a very different scenario than putting it 200 gallons a minute in our creeks or wetlands, because just scale wise. So it can go in a swale, that then goes down to the river, as long as it's in a place that is, below where we get our drinking water.
But and I just want to ask, with respect to that in particular, there are people who have wells. So we think of Ann Arbor and its own unique and separate water system, but there are people who have wells who are between here and the river. So I think it has to be something pretty careful.
Yeah, right. That's a good point. The area that, they were talking about was a swale next to M14.
Mm-hmm.
That's just runs along the highway.
Yeah, but there's still quite a lot of property between there and the Huron.
But the problem is that it has to go somewhere.
Oh yeah, I understand.
But you can build pipes.
Mm-hmm.
So why not just say something like, can't be discharged into the lake, any other natural creek or wetland, or any drinking water supply.
Yes.
Sure, there you go.
But
That
then
covers
it's
it.
not, it can't go to Lake Erie then either, through a pipe. So,
Well, it has to go to Lake Erie. I mean, what are we gonna do with it?
well,
Yeah.
yeah, I like the idea of other natural, not in a natural creek or drinking water supply, because then maybe they can build a swale of their own.
But again, it's a
It'll
swale
go
to
there
where?
eventually, but
No,
yeah.
but it's a swale to where? It has to go to one of our Great Lakes.
Right.
There's no way around that.
Right.
Or it has to be cleaned up to a higher
There.
standard.
Yeah, exactly.
And
You know,
maybe-
I think this is crazy that we're going to let them dump it somewhere.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I agree, because I keep thinking of, it's not just us people, right? It's going into, we're potentially putting polluted water that affects wildlife and other parts of the ecosystem. So we want it cleaned up. We
What is
need
the
to say that
difference again?
clearly.
What is
Pardon
the
me?
difference again between the drinking water standard and the surface water standard?
Oh, it's a lot. 280,
Mhm.
280 for surface water and 7.2 for
How about
drinking
this?
water.
Or any drinking water supply if the discharge exceeds drinking water standard.
Yes. Let's just do it.
Any drinking water standard?
No, well, drinking water standards, I don't know if any.
But yeah, I don't think we need that.
You know, I'd like to remind people that a default option here is injecting it deep underground. You know, below into a very deep aquifer.
That's
Though
very true.
At the same time, Steve, this is exactly what they planned on doing back in the 80s.
Right.
And it's still 19 feet below the ground in West Park. And so I think with our glaciated geology, groundwater just, it does not just flow downhill. Like there are all kinds of weird places where sands will suck stuff up because it's a path of least resistance, and it just can be all over the place. So I would rather, because that was their entire justification.
Well, let someone else figure this out. We're saying what our
Yeah,
standards are, and then they have to figure it out.
Yeah.
exactly.
I, as a geologist, would suspect that you could put it underground, but you're right, Shannon, you'd have to go really deep and be really careful. But, you know, Michigan has shallow, relatively speaking, aquifers.
Right.
So the big question is, how do you get it below the aquifers?
Exactly,
Need
right.
space.
So I'm happy with it as it's written now.
Okay.
What about natural water feature instead of creek? To be a little bit broader
Sure.
than just creek.
Yep.
Or just natural, yeah, okay.
So can I suggest one more little fly speck here? Because I think that this is actually getting at two separate concerns. That, like, even if the water's 100% pure, it's still an issue to discharge it into the lake or presumably a wetland. So would we be amenable to, after natural water feature, a semicolon, and then or to any drinking water supply?
That's a good idea.
Excellent. This is why we needed this.
Okay. So
All right, shall we move on? I think it's good. Okay, resolved that all dioxin hotspots be treated using the best technology available.
We assume that's defined somehow, hotspots?
Why hotspots?
Hotspots, maybe it probably does need a technical thing, right, of a certain level of dioxin.
this term was used in the meeting with Debbie Dingle.
Mhm.
Well, you know, what's nice about what we're doing is that we're only advising council, right? So council will have to have, I would imagine, I'm not sure, but a lawyer who would go through this and put it all into
Right.
terminology that would stand up in court.
Doesn't the whereas above just talk about best available technology with contamination? So why can't it be something like that all dioxin contamination be treated using best technology? Why are we
Yeah, that's a good idea.
emphasizing
Why not?
hotspots?
Right, yes.
So Rita, what is that?
Contamination.
That all dioxane be treated using the best technology available.
Contamination.
Thank you.
Good.
Perfect.
And do we need groundwater?
That's good,
Well,
because you know, it could be surface flow, you're right.
yeah,
Mhm.
okay, drop it. Drop groundwater. Yep. Okay.
Just
Anything
breathing
else?
this stuff will hurt you too.
Yeah,
So this is good.
okay. Last resolved, are we ready? That the city retain the right to pursue all available legal remedies.
So are we gonna go back up through the others or not?
You mean to look at the whole document again?
Well, we did, it just made me think that we in the resolved decided to take the side of wildlife that could be affected by dioxin, whereas we had one of these whereases where we talk about the wetlands. I can't remember where it was.
Okay,
And we didn't point, you know, somehow we pulled our punch on that, even though the dioxin could hurt the wetland. Does anyone remember that? Oh, gosh.
I don't think we use the word wildlife anywhere.
Not wildlife, but you know, we made it sound like wetlands are safe
mhm,
from dioxin, but you know, there are animals that live in wetlands.
right,
And I just remember when we were
okay,
talking
let's,
about that.
yeah. Steve, are you scanning us through?
I am too. I just don't remember. Jeez.
Yeah.
Sorry. Maybe I just.
Steve, I saw you change fourth up above, but then somewhere down below we use third where 3RD. So again, to be
Yeah.
consistent. And then we
Sure.
sometimes refer to it as 1,4 dioxane and then sometimes just dioxane.
I think we should use 1,4.
Yep.
Okay, so I found it.
Oh,
It's
good.
in the whereas 1, 2, 3, fourth whereas, the really big one. Treated water would be discharged into First Sister Lake. Second sentence is the 200 gallons per minute volume of Gelman wastewater discharge will likely harm. We said impact, but I think we could go back to likely harm, only because I can't imagine it wouldn't harm a critter that was living in the wetland. I mean, there are a lot of animal studies that suggest this stuff
Right.
hurts animals.
Mhm.
Shannon, are you there? I know that this was your impact was your suggestion.
I'm just
Yeah.
trying to be
Steve.
consistent too, because
Yeah,
we sort of
right.
we imply in the bottom that.
So sorry, it's my son's birthday dinner tonight and I'm the
Oh,
one that's
no.
supposed to be cooking. And so I'm like shoving something in the oven.
We'll sing for you.
Okay, I'm sorry for stepping out I mean, I'm in the same room, but I was not
All right.
focused on it. So can we go back to
Okay.
the
Fourth whereas.
fourth whereas?
Changing impact back to harm.
Changing impact, the one up at the top?
Yeah. The number fourth whereas the second.
Oh, I see. Because of the wildlife?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we also down in the resolved, we implied that this water shouldn't go into a wetland. Why would we say that if it's just?
So, well, yeah, right. So I guess what I was thinking in that was more that purely on volume. And so this one seems to be You see what I'm saying? It's like 200 gallons per minute volume would likely greatly impact the wetland. And so maybe there can be like another or a comma or and.
So it's
And
not just the water volume though, it's, we were also talking about that it's not really.
I get it, but that
Non-detect.
sentence is about the volume.
Yeah.
What if we strike the 200 gallons per minute and just simply say the
There you
Gilman
go.
water
There you
district
go.
would likely
That takes care of it. Yep.
Yep.
harm, I should say.
Okay.
So we can just strike out.
And
Great.
then just say the volume of 200
Exactly.
gallons per minute equates.
All right. Yep. So I just want to point out that we are at 6:41.
Okay,
The
I'm
pumpkin
done.
is about to take off.
Don't leave a slipper behind. It might be a good birthday.
Are we gonna say harm instead of impact? I think we said harm.
I think we're going to say harm.
Yep. That's fine.
And I don't know why we can't just simply say the Gilman wastewater district
Yeah,
and not even refer to volume.
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Steve. Yep.
Good.
Perfect. All right.
Steve, can you scan down through it quickly so we can just read through it all up? And we'll take a vote. Here we are, yep.
That's it.
I like it.
All right. I think
like
it's
it too.
great. I think we
Yep.
should, would someone like to move a vote on our draft
I
at this
move,
moment?
and we approve the revised Gelman resolution as amended and as displayed. Period.
Second,
Any second?
Second.
Okay,
I
we got a
second.
second. Thanks.
Peck seconds.
All right, so shall we move to vote? And can we just do it by acclamation, given our time frame? Everyone in favor, say hi and raise your hand.
Aye.
And
Aye.
I'm seeing 100%. Yay. Wow, y'all are great. Thanks. I'm going to step away. Steve, you are now the chair.
Thanks,
Right.
Rita.
Thank you, Rita.
All right, she gets it done.
Okay, so I'm going to print this and send it to all the commissioners, not just as a memento, but as a just in case there's any final thing. And then if you have any further comments or anything, let me know, and we'll pass this on. And Galen will certainly pass this on tomorrow. I think that's the protocol. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Well, thanks
Oh.
everybody.
Yeah, and Steve, I want to say thanks for being the leader on this. You got us going on something that's really important.
Yep.
And
Well, thanks.
That's good.
Okay, and just in closure, I think it's worth maybe a brief discussion now before we move on to the second public comment. Again, the broadcast of this will have to be cut off by 7, but the CTN is still recording this meeting, and I'm willing to stay on till after 7 o'clock for any public comment that may come our way. And then adjourn the meeting after the public comment is finished. So that's the rest of the agenda. So frankly, I'm pretty happy with the way this has happened in terms of effectiveness. I like using Google Docs and having a small working group work on this document in the meantime between formal meetings. And then I thought it was really good based on my previous experience that we have a document that's in front of everybody's face, that everybody is seeing the same document when we're doing, when we're going through an amendment process. It can get quite complicated at times, where you have friendly amendments on top of hostile amendments on top of friendly amendments. So I'm thinking that I really like this process, and I might like to see it happen, you know, in the near future, in the future for almost all of our commission meetings. So we can have a discussion about this on December 3rd when we talk about, when we have our end of the year review and talk about best practices and maybe what to consider changing in terms of our processes and procedures going forward. Does anybody else wish to have any comment at this time about that topic?
Well, I just think we proved that together we're better than just, as you're saying, Steve, one or two people working on this on our own. That was demonstrated through process used in the Google Doc, but also tonight. And I really think everybody's to be commended. I also want to recognize all the input that we received from the public via email, and also all the testimony that we were able to refer to. It was extremely helpful. And what I really appreciate with this resolution is it didn't just, as initially proposed, reject the consent agreement or consent judgment, but also recommends a way forward, so that we're not just saying we just don't like this, but we also say, but here's also a better way forward. And also, not only that, here's a way also that we can be informed as residents about how the process is going, so that data is provided to us so we can evaluate, but the entire public can evaluate how this is going. So I really appreciate all of that.
Well, thank you, John. I'm really happy. I think it's a strong process. And it's been as public as we can manage, you know, with these online restrictions. Okay.
I'm not a good speller, but acclamation seems to be misspelled.
Yeah, it's telling me that as well.
It's just ALAM. The I is extraneous, I think.
There you go. I even got a suggestion. Okay. All right. So this is it. This is what's going to be submitted to council. So if there are no more comments at this time, let's pass on to the second public comment period. This is an opportunity for persons to speak for up to 3 minutes. Please call 1-888-788-0099 and enter meeting ID 979-3113-0988. This information is also displayed on the meeting agenda and video feed. City staff will select callers that have raised their hand one by one using the last 3 digits of your phone number. In order to electronically raise your hand to indicate your desire to speak, please press *9 on your phone. You will hear an automated announcement that the host is allowing you to speak. When speaking, please move to a quiet area and mute any television or background sounds so that we may hear you clearly. Please state your name and address at the beginning of your comments. And be patient, there is a delay of up to 30 seconds before a connection is established. So we'll wait 30 seconds now, Galen.
Okay. There's nobody in the queue for questions, for public commentary.
Okay. So I declare this meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Great going.
Bye.
Great working with you
Thank
all.
you. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Rita.
Thank you, everybody.
Good job.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Galen.
Galen.
Take care.